So I started as a thrifter and I became known in fashion through thrifting. You know, I always like to emphasize you don't have to spend thousands of dollars to look like $1 million. It's the way that you pair things. It's the way that you...
After years of working towards her passion, she became one of Arizona's first creatives to collaborate with Goodwill, Arizona, pioneering thrifting-focused content for social media and local news. But in the middle of that momentum, life hit hard. Colleen unexpectedly lost her father on National Thrift Day.
The next chapter is called National Thrift Day, and that's actually what's so crazy about my story. If you think about my journey being a thrifter and like starting my whole brand through thrifting, my dad passed away on National Thrift Day.
But instead of stopping, she transformed that pain into power. She went on to build her brand Styled by CQ, designing custom looks from thrifted clothing, styling runway shows, collaborating with designers, emceeing major fashion events, and now she's added author to that list, releasing her book, Two Worlds, One Hustle, with a story about navigating creativity, business, grief, and ambition all at once. This is Colleen Quinn.
My dad wanted me to succeed so bad, and that's why I knew I had to keep going. So this book is like, if you want to really get in my business, that is like a side of myself that I'm not going to share on social media.
Yeah.
And that's when people were like, well, can you style my line? And I think like if you're getting into fashion, that's something I highly recommend is...
So welcome back everybody to season number 3 of Hot Shots. And today we have an incredible guest here in Arizona. Sitting in front of me is Colleen Quinn. Do you want to introduce yourself a little bit?
Sure. Hello, everyone. I'm Colleen, aka CQ, and I'm originally from Chicago, Illinois. I've been in Arizona for a long time now, and I'm a fashion stylist, published author, public speaker, as well as a host. So, yeah, that's a little bit about me.
Woo! No, I'm super excited to be getting the season 3 started with literally the one and only. So. I think I've known you now for like three years, I think.
Yeah,
so,
at least.
Met in the fashion scene. I guess kind of to start off, how did you get in the fashion scene?
Yeah, so I started in 2019 as a thrifter, and I was really, really heavy into thrifting, tagging Goodwill, Arizona. I really wanted to get into that field. And so I started as a thrifter, and I became known in fashion through thrifting. So I did like a lot of outfit of the days. I did multiple collaborations with Goodwill, Arizona, and that's how I became quote unquote known in fashion.
Okay.
Though I wasn't doing anything on the styling side for anyone else besides myself until early 2020. So that's when I essentially started Style by CQ, and that's when things started to blossom on the styling side. So that's how I basically got started in the industry, was through thrifting.
Okay. And was that like thrifting and being a stylist, was that something that you always wanted to do since like you were growing up, or when did that kind of happen for you?
That's a great question. I feel like I've always had fashion inside me. Like I'm a very extroverted person, like through my life, like even like childhood photos, like I was doing like little mini fashion shows for my family and stuff. They didn't ask for it.
What, when you were little?
Yeah.
What? Like how old?
Like I was like 5.
Setting up fashion shows?
Oh, yeah.
Like, Mom, wear this, and then walk. No way.
Well, not for my mom, but for myself. Like I would like
gotcha.
walk down the hallway or like walk down the stairs and be like, everyone look at my outfit, and like no one asked for it. But yeah, so I've always been like very extroverted. And then I honestly through my 20s, like early 20s, I worked in women's retail, like in fashion.
Okay.
So I was a quote unquote like retail like stylist, specialist, and so I worked for a lot of like business professional women clothing brands. So that's like a part of my story I don't really talk about a lot, because like I try to go backwards in time to figure out where did fashion really start for me. And I would say that was like actually a core, was like really working in retail and women, specifically women's fashion. And that really got me inspired to just have fun with my outfits and always just be expressive in that way.
Okay, so like you would try on clothes there, or like what was it that made you find out like, hey, this is something that I really like to do?
Yeah, so essentially what I would do is I would help like people that would come into the store find outfits for themselves and really like help them pair looks together. And I was like, quote unquote, I was being a stylist, and I didn't know it, you know, like I started when I was 18. I worked at BB, which a lot of people know what BB is. There are not as many stores around now, but I worked at BB, and that was like my dream to work there. And then I worked at White House Black Market and Taylor. So like all of like those business professional women's clothing stores.
Okay.
And I always knew though I wanted to be in business. Like that was the main thing. So when I entered college, I majored in business because I just knew like deep in my heart that I was going to be an entrepreneur. And I literally started like something that I always share when I like public speak is I started Smile Like Colleen in college. Like on my graduation cap, I had my URL. SmileLikeColleen.com. Yeah, like I was hustling. Like even back then, I was like really, really adamant about creating a brand just in general.
And at that time in college, were you in the fashion scene here in Arizona, or were you just kind of just on your own at that point?
Not even close. Like I wasn't even in fashion in college in general. Like I was always extroverted. I always wore like blazers and like really bold colors. And I was in this one organization called American Business Women's Association, and I was the president of it. And so like I led a lot of meetings and things like that. And I always like wore bold blazers and things, but like I wasn't in any fashion programs back in my early 20s. So I didn't really discover like quote unquote extreme fashion really until like I would say 2019, 2018 era.
Okay. And what happened in that time that
was
skyrocketed that?
That was essentially when I really, really got into thrifting. And like I think something that's so cool about thrifting is like finding unique pieces because they're one of a kind pieces that you can't find other places. And so when I started thrifting and got really passionate about thrifting, that's when I started tagging Goodwill, Arizona. And I always share this part of my story when I go to high schools and speak about like how I got to who I am today and all of that. But I essentially tagged Goodwill for a year. And there was this event that I ended up going to. And I was basically like, okay, I'm going to meet the social media person. I'm going to make myself known. Because at that point, like, I wanted to be an influencer really bad. But, like, I technically wasn't. I mean, like, I don't know. Influencer is a loose term. Yeah, I was figuring it out. And I ended up going, and really, like, there was a panel portion where you got to ask questions at the end. And so I had created a look that was just, like, bold. Like, the outfit I was wearing was, like, you know, something that made me stand out. And I ended up basically standing up and asking a question at the end to really bring attention to myself, because I knew that the social media manager was there. And that was the whole point, right? Like, it was to be known at that point. And after the whole panel happened, I was like, okay, I'm assuming this is me in my delusion. I was like, I'm assuming the social media manager will just walk right up to me, like right after. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so you're going to notice me.
Yes. Didn't happen, right? And so I'm walking around, I'm shopping. It's probably 30, 40 minutes have gone by at this point. And I'm like, you know what? I gave it my best shot. I'm just going to go. You know what I mean? Like, I tried my best. And so I'm checking out at the register and stuff, and I get a tap on my shoulder. And I look behind me, and someone literally has their hand out, and they're like, "Are you Smile Like Colleen?" And that was the first time I'd ever heard my at, like, in person, right? Wow. Like, it feels really crazy when someone says your at, like, in real life. You're just like,
yeah, because that's what I was just about to ask, too, because during this time that you were tagging Goodwill and all that, is that what kind of got your social media, like, all the followers coming in and, like, people watching your content? Was it that series that you had there?
No, that honestly not yet. So what happened next is I think what gained a lot of my followers, because that person was the social media manager, and they were like, we want to work with you. We've seen you've been tagging us for a while, putting in the work, really, because I was doing fit checks in front of my job on my lunch break. And like something that I share and like, you know, we can talk about later with my book is like, not only have I been in entrepreneurship for as long as I have, but I've also been in corporate America as well. And so on my lunch break, I was literally taking fit checks. And like when I go through and I like do presentations for high schoolers, I pull those throwback pics.
Really?
On like whatever phone that was, like iPhone 6, I don't know, but it looks bad. But like you have to start somewhere. And I think that's what I like to emphasize about anybody getting started building a brand. It's not going to be perfect. It's not going to be crystal clear. You're not going to have, you know, at the start, you're not going to have professional videography, photography.
Yeah.
It's okay. Just start. And that's why I always leave my content from the past up. Like if you scroll all the way down, you can see like the growth. And I think that's really important, because a lot of times we as creatives, we just are so picky. and we're like, oh, well, this wasn't that good of a shot, or like,
this is old stuff.
This is old. Like, I just want to get rid of it. But I'm like, that's the story though.
Yeah,
like that is for somebody that hasn't started yet. That's the story. By looking back and being like, no, I was once exactly like where you were. And so that's, to answer your question, that's essentially what got me started. I started doing an extreme amount of collaborations with Goodwill Arizona. I did honestly campaigns for every holiday. Valentine's Day campaign. I did a Halloween campaign.
So that was after you met that person at that event. Okay.
And during that time frame, what was happening with Goodwill is they were picking influencers to go into Goodwills during store hours, mic'd up like I am now.
What?
And they were legitimately having us talk about thrifting while the store was open and go through and pick like clothing off the rack.
Wow.
So
was that something you had to like travel to different Goodwills, or was that one that you were?
I did it twice. Well, no, I did it way more than twice, but I did a majority at one location, in the Valley, but I had never public spoke prior to that. So that was my first time on camera.
Oh, okay, I remember. Yeah, you were talking about this.
So that was back in 2019, and that was literally during store hours. Like customers were like walking around the store like, who are these people like with a video camera? You know what I mean?
In that time, yeah, it was still.
And thrifting wasn't cool back then. Like I kind of like say this sometimes to people that were like hardcore thrifters, like thrifting, vintage, that stuff was not popular in 2019, 2020. Like I feel like that wave of influencers with Goodwill, at least in Arizona, I feel like we really set the bar for making thrifting cool and making like secondhand fashion cool and like make it fashionable. And I always like to emphasize when people ask me about my outfits and things like that, like, hey, like you don't have to spend thousands of dollars to look like $1 million. Like it's the way that you pair things. It's the way that you style things. And that's really what I always talk about. Nice.
And that goes perfectly kind of even to what you're wearing right now.
Yeah,
like,
this is Goodwill.
Something like they're thrifted? Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. Yeah.
Yeah, everything's thrifted down to the scarf. Yeah, so everything I have on is from Goodwill, and it's kind of monochromatic. Even the boots are thrifted from Goodwill. But yeah, I mean, the jewelry isn't thrifted. I think I got these like at Target, I believe, and this might be Amazon. But that's what I like to do. Like I like to pair jewelry that maybe isn't thrifted or like high end with something that is thrifted, and that really is like my secret sauce when it comes to styling. So I just gave you a little bit of, if you're watching this, you have a couple.
Right, you have a little bit of sauce now.
Yeah, exactly.
That's sick.
Exactly.
So who did you, like after you started doing all these Goodwill shoots, who did you kind of meet to start to get to a bunch of the events that kind of go on here? Like when did you start kind of stepping into that?
Yeah, so to give you a timeline, I started Style by CQ in May, technically, is when I started the Instagram, May 2020. But I started, my first styling shoot was in January, and I really didn't start heavily doing shoots until literally after COVID hit. So like it was a weird time to be in fashion in general, because one, we had to be safe, we had to use precaution when it came to COVID, but at the same token, I counted, because I talk about this when I go to high schools, I did over 100 individual photo shoots from 2020 into 2021. That's how individual. Damn. My first fashion show was September of 2020, and it was COVID, right? I did some very interesting fashion shows in 2020. So it was like a mall setup vibe, and all of the models were behind a glass window, 6 feet apart. And the audience was like walking by. So that's how they played the fashion show. Really? Another fashion show I did in 2020 was filmed at the Botanical Gardens, and there was no crowd, and like it was so crazy. So like we filmed, there was drone footage, all this stuff. We filmed the whole fashion show, no audience. Even like the special talent, like the music artist was like lip syncing. There was no like music, like because again, like there was no audience. Yeah. And then what we ended up doing is watching the whole entire video in Harkins Theater. So we actually saw it on the big screen, but like there was literally like no audience, and that's how I was doing fashion shows in 2020. Yeah, due to restrictions.
Yeah, I mean, you were still, were that all your ideas, or did you have like a group of people that helped you?
No,
put that
those
stuff
were
together?
different fashion houses. So I guess like to answer your question, I wouldn't say I was the only one doing crazy amounts of photo shoots, but I was definitely one of the only stylists that was doing that many photo shoots in 2020. And I essentially, like I always say, start with your friends, like, obviously, but my goal and my initiative was like, I can style anybody, any body, any height, any ethnicity, any body shape. Like, I was so adamant about like, I'm not just styling one type of person, because, and no hate towards anyone that considers himself a stylist for themselves, but when you start styling others is when things shift. Like, that means you can style anybody. That is where, for me, the respect comes in. So I wanted to prove to myself and to others, but it was mostly for myself, that I could style anyone, anybody. And so once I started doing that so heavily, I started connecting with a lot of people in the industry, because I was meeting new models, like, style by CQ. Oh, I want to meet her. Oh, will you style me? I want to build my portfolio. I want to do editorial work. Like,
so some of these were photo shoots of yourself, and some of them were ones that you were styling the person for a photo shoot?
It was mostly just other people. Like, I was doing photo shoots for myself, yes, but like, my whole goal was to build Style by CQ. So I was just doing a ton of photo shoots, like, and obviously working safely, but like, we just were in small groups doing these photo shoots back then. And so that's how I started connecting with people in the industry. And then that's how I ended up connecting with, different fashion houses. But what a lot of people don't know about me is I started technically, quote unquote, as a model in 2019. That's technically how I got started, as a petite model. And so I hit the runway before I was a stylist. So like, I had seen the other side, and I was like, oh, it's time for me to go to the other side, because I feel like I can bring a lot of value.
Like, was it when you were getting styled, like, were you kind of like helping these stylists, like being like, oh, I think I can do this, and then that's when you were like, I feel like I can do this position?
Honestly, the show that I did, it wasn't even like, there wasn't even a stylist or a designer. It was just themed. It was like a Halloween themed shoot. So like, one of the walks was just all black. The other walk was like, I was Marilyn Monroe, which was crazy back then. And then the third walk was just whatever you wanted to style yourself in.
Okay.
But that, I think, is how people started to know me, because like, if you look back at those videos, like, I was doing the most. Like, and they're still on my Instagram. Like, if you scroll all the way down in the highlights, like, they're still on my Instagram.
I have to look them
like,
up.
Oh yeah, it was crazy. Like, I feel like afterwards, like, people walked up to me, they're like, you have no fear. And I was like, I don't. And like, I've always been this way. And so that was before fashion. That was before Style by CQ. That was before everything. That's how I connected with a fashion house. And then from there, it snowballed, because I was like, I want to do fashion shows. And that's when I got really into doing runway.
Okay. And so what was one of the first ones, and like, how did you find that first runway show that you were like involved for a stylist, like being the stylist for that show?
So, let me think about it. Well, I think the first couple years I was doing my own collections completely.
Oh,
I wasn't.
Yeah. Actually, let's go into that, because I remember you did have a runway show that was it was pink, right? From what I remember, yeah.
Yeah, so that's what was unique about me as well, is most stylists that I know and know of don't do their own collections. I mean, there are some, but like, most stylists, I mean, depending on what their niche is, but they're mostly styling for designers, or they're styling celebrities, individual wardrobe styling, right?
Yeah.
But I was so unique because I was doing my own capsule collections. That was what's so interesting about me, is I was like known as the girl that was doing all these collections. That's why designers started to know me, because I was like, I don't know. I feel like I see it as like, I was playing with the big dogs, like, always. You know what I mean? Like, I could hold my own in these environments because I was putting together 15 model looks by myself. No assistant.
You were trying to level up every time.
Yeah, I was leveling up every time. I'm very, very, very about the detail. If you guys know me, you know this. I'm all about the detail. Like, you'll start seeing a look, and you'll just start seeing like one thing after another of detail. Yeah. And that's what I started doing. And so I think like, honestly, for the first 2 years, I was doing my own collections only and solely.
That was 2020 and 2021?
And 2022.
Okay.
Now, what started to happen, two things started to happen. One, designers started to be like, who is this girl? She just keeps doing, and she's not like a designer, but she's putting together all these collections and she's killing it. Like, who is she? And so people started, obviously I was connecting with a lot of designers, and that's when people were like, well, can you style my line? Like, dang, like, you know what you're doing. Like, can I book you? Sick. And so that's when things started to snowball in the way of booking. And booking, I always like refer to as money. Like, that's when I really started making income, like, if I'm being transparent.
Yeah.
And secondly, what started happening is, I was doing all of these different collections and things like that. And so I was like, you know what? I think I'm going to eventually have to sell some of this stuff because, like, think about it. I had so many clothes. And I don't own a mansion, okay? So if you look through my, like, Style by CQ and you see all these clothes, it's just like, where are you storing all this stuff? Like,
yeah, that's a good question, actually.
And so people started asking, like, are you ever going to sell? Like, I know, like, you're not a designer, technically, so you're not, like, making the clothes, but, like, people wanted my clothes so bad because of the fact they were thrifted.
You just knew how to style it.
Yes.
Yeah, you made it look good.
Yes, and they were thrifted. And that's the main thing I always go back to because you can't find it again. I couldn't send an Amazon link to everything, you know?
Yeah.
And so that's why in 2023, I had my first pop-up shop. And that was a huge success.
Nice.
It was 2 days long. It was in person. It was in Old Town Scottsdale at a venue.
Okay.
And it was like a mini retail store. And I individually tagged every single item. Everything was like averaged between, I would say, $5 and $15, like very fair.
Okay.
And I tagged over 200 items. And I had like different collections for different, like, it was crazy.
Yeah, 200 items in your closet? That's crazy.
And that wasn't even like half of what I own.
Wow.
But yeah, so I labeled all of the collections by my collection names through the years, and that's how people were able to shop and buy, and it was very successful. And people keep asking me, like, when am I doing another one? It's definitely coming. It's definitely in the works because I have so much stuff. But yeah.
Nice. So what is like, what was one of the first like shows that you did where you were like I can do this for more, or like now this is like the one that I needed to show my experience? Like, when was that show, or which one was that?
Honestly, I'm proud of all of the shows that I've done, all the collections I've done. But one that really sticks out to me was the Barrett Jackson collection, when I was actually featured at the Barrett Jackson show, because that was the first time where I just felt like a true visionary. Because what I did with that collection was, not only was it the color coding that I did, it was red, white, and black, but I incorporated a Mercedes emblem in every look in some way. And if you go back, you can see, like, I literally have an emblem in one of the model's hair. I have one glued to one of the briefcases. I had one glued to one of the shirts. Wow. I had one of my last model that walked the stage had a Mercedes cologne that he sprayed at the end of the runway.
Really?
And showed it. Yeah, like, I was that detailed.
Wow. Yeah.
That's when I started feeling like, oh no, I'm good at this. Like, I think that was one of the shows where I was like, oh, I'm really good at this. Like, and I just felt so proud of myself because it was the reactions from not only the crowd, but the models. Like, you know, like you've been backstage, you know, when like a model's wearing like a fit they really like, and they're like feeling themselves in, and like other models are like, dang, like that's what was happening. Yeah, you can tell when
they're like feeling the fit too. Like they're so much more confident. They're like taking like 6 selfies. Like everybody's like on point whenever they're wearing like something super cool.
Exactly. So that was, I think, the first time where I was like, oh, this is crazy. And what's so crazy about how far I go is I was so set on incorporating Mercedes in every single look that I even went to a Mercedes dealership and asked if I could get an emblem from their service department. And
is that how you got them?
No, I already I was out. There was one fit I almost couldn't like figure out how to incorporate it because I had bought like these, you know, those like rubber things you put in like your cup holder in your car. I had bought an emblem, like a Mercedes emblem one off Amazon, and it was like really difficult to glue because it was thick. And so I was trying to glue it to a shirt. And so I was like, you know what? Like, I'm going to do the craziest thing, and I'm going to go to a dealership and ask if they have extras, like, in their service department. And mind you, like, they said that they would have helped me, but the service department had just closed.
Oh, man.
But I'm like, the measures I went to, you know how scary that is? To walk into a Mercedes dealership and be like, hey, you don't know me. I'm a fashion stylist. I want an emblem. And they were just like, who is this?
Yeah, they're just like, why do you want just an emblem?
Yeah, but I was like literally that animate, and it was so scary. And I feel like that's a testament to my whole career and my whole story is like I do things afraid. I was so afraid to do that, but you would never have known from the outside that I was in any way, shape, or form afraid of doing that. It's just, I think that throughout my career and throughout my journey, I've just learned to do it scared, because if you don't do it like scared, sometimes you'll never do it
Is there any time where you like were just super nervous to do something because you thought like you were gonna have a bad outcome, or you just didn't like think about what would happen, and then the night came or that came, and then you were like, wow, this is the best thing that happened. I didn't think this would happen.
Oh yeah, I mean, like, I think as a designer and as a stylist, when you're putting a collection together, like, things go wrong all the time. Like, okay, like, there are times where I would be on my apartment floor in like my living room, and I would just have all the looks like laid out, like visually. And like, just like any creative, like, I would be up until like midnight, 2 a.m., just like putting these looks together. Like, that's how important it was.
Yeah.
And sometimes like, you have these moments as an entrepreneur where you're just like, I don't know if I could do this. Like, I don't even know if I could do this anymore. Like, you know, you just have that thought. And I've had those thoughts many times. And I remember like, okay, go to sleep. You'll feel fresh in the morning. You'll figure it out. Like, even if I didn't have a full look solidified or I wasn't happy, like, there's this like switch that happens for me where all of a sudden I'm like, that's the look. But until I feel that switch, I'm not satisfied. And even when a model puts it on, I say this all the time to my models, like, I want to make sure that the model likes their look. Like, if and when possible. I know sometimes you can't always have someone love their look, but you can tell a difference when a model likes a look or not just by the way their demeanor is, their spark, right? And like the biggest thing to me about styling, it's so much deeper to me than the surface, because it brings out a side of someone that's so like high level and like strong and like confident, and like having the ability to make that switch in someone as a stylist is just, it's just so powerful and fulfilling to me.
Yeah, I mean, definitely, because like once you wear an outfit, or like once you figure out your style, because a lot of people, when they like first are trying to figure out their style, it's hard for them to figure out what colors they look good in, or what like just they feel comfortable in. So a lot of the times too, like after you start to see that, or you work with a stylist like yourself, then like you just feel a lot more comfortable like in the clothes that you're in. So
yeah, and at the end of the day, like, it's all about like trial and error when it comes to stuff like that. When I do styling consultations with people, I always ask, like, is there specific colors you really like? Or like, for me, I sometimes have to be like, you gotta trust me, because like, you know, like, again, I will style based off of what the preferences they want. But then there are clients that are like, I wear black and that's it, or I wear white and that's it, and I want to get into color. I just don't know how, or I'm nervous, and I put something together. I'm like, try this. They're like, that looks crazy. They put it on. They're like, whoa. Like, I'm like, you gotta trust me.
Yeah.
I've been doing this a while. You gotta trust me.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, it's definitely trial and error though, and fashion is subjective, right? Like, not everyone's going to like the looks that I put together. Not everyone's gonna like, you know what I mean? Like, that's okay. And that's what's fun about fashion, is it's subjective and it's all interpretation, and that's what makes it fun, is the creative process like that. So
yeah, for sure. Has there been a time where like when you were doing one of the fashion shows where you had an outfit kind of set, but last minute you were like, hold on, I think this would look better here, and this one would look better with this jacket or something? And
yeah, I be doing that. People that know me like hardcore, they know I bring scissors everywhere.
Okay.
Oh, I be stressing people out. I'm like, you know what? This skirt, it's a top now. I start cutting, and that's
wow, okay.
and that is why, like, when I go to schools and stuff, or some people that know me like that, like designers that have seen me do stuff like that behind the scenes, they're like, you lean way more on the designer side than you think, because I be creating stuff out of other things.
Yeah.
Or like, I will, you know, it's just like, I see things and I'm like, oh, that could be something, but it's not that thing. Like, if it's a jacket, I'm like, I'm going to flip it upside down. Like, or I'm going to make it into this. Or, you know what? I'm going to make this shirt a one sleever instead. And then I'm like folding, and I'm like doing weird stuff that's not quote unquote designer, because I'm not like sewing.
Yeah.
But I'm doing things that are creating outfits that were not historically what they were before.
Yeah.
So I could see things in a very unique way. So to answer your question, yes. There are also many instances as a person in fashion, especially runway fashion, where you don't have fits, but like, you don't have the ability to do try-ons before shows. That has happened to me. Like, I just have to eyeball. And I just have to hope for the best. And sometimes, like, it doesn't, I bring backup looks everywhere I go. And I think that would be like a nugget for someone getting into fashion as a stylist, or just as a designer as well. But designers, they a lot of the time have measurements, and they're like creating looks like sometimes specifically for those people. For me, I create backup looks for those exact reasons. Like I put something on someone, it just doesn't work visually like I thought it would. And so I'm like, you know what? No, we're trying a different look. And like I'm very calm and collected through that process. And I've learned to be that way because when I first started styling, I would like talk out loud a lot of the time. Like I'd be like, yeah, I don't know if I like this necklace with, like, my thoughts would be aloud. And I started getting really good at like not doing that because it's okay to be silent. And that's literally the best advice I can give someone for styling, but also for public speaking. Like, take a pause. It's okay to take a pause. Thoughts. You don't have to like filler words like I'm doing it now. But like at the end of the day, it's okay to take a pause. No one's gonna question it. Yeah. So for me, I learned that through styling is like it's okay to be in silence and to just look visually at a look and have a moment of peace. And it was like I have so many photos of myself like doing that look. You know what I mean? Like honing in on the look and stuff like that. But yeah.
It's like, oh, there's Colleen. There's another picture with Colleen locked in. She's just
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's awesome. So when was it when you started like because how many shows have you done now? And then when was it when you were just in the grind of like creating like all these pieces or like putting all the clothes together? Like how was that for you?
I don't know the exact number of shows. I know I've done at least like 15 to 20 fashion like runway shows.
Wow.
From like, and that I don't think that's even including like getting booked by designers for shows too. Because true. Like I shifted a lot of my focus in 2022, 2023 to working with designers and styling their clothing lines because it was so much easier for me because I was just using their pieces. I wasn't having to lug like all of my clothing, all of my looks, create custom looks, right? So they would hire me to pair clothing together and also bring accessories and bring that what I call the CQ effect to the look. So like Sick. Bring the accessories, make it feel like the oomph, you know what I mean? And something that I test my abilities to is when I put a look together and I put it on the runway, people could see themselves in it. And the intent is to sell, you know, as a designer. Like the intent is, oh, I could see myself wearing that, right?
Yeah.
And that is an art through styling because when you're pairing correctly and you're putting accessories on, they're visualizing themselves in the look. And some people need that push. They need that, oh, okay, wait a second. I never thought to put those two things together. I could do that. Or whatever the case is. Oh, that looks like a perfect look I can do for a night out in the town, whatever.
Yeah.
So it's really important to pair correctly. And I think that more times than not, there are a lot of misses that could be attributed to like not accessorizing and not putting it feel like in a full look because it makes a difference. Like accessories and, you know, all of those details, they make a huge difference at the end of the day.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's for sure. Like, and then people just notice it too. Like there's a lot more respect when you can tell like someone put their time and effort and like the little things, like whether it be like the way that they sewed something or like a small little design that they made. So it goes a long way when people put in that extra effort for sure.
Yes, definitely.
So like after 2023, like you've been through all these fashion shows. Like, what was your next point after that? Because, I mean, if we kind of get into your book now that you have here, was that kind of when you started thinking about putting together a book? Or when was it where you were like, all right, I've done so much now, like, what's my next move?
Honestly, yes and no. So I always knew that I wanted to write a book. Back in like 2015, like right when I graduated college, I knew I wanted to write a book. Like this has been 10 years in the making. Oh, wow. I didn't really start writing the book like heavy though which is a crazy statement, until May of this year. And yeah, like to get more insight on that in a second, but before we get there, I want to emphasize in 2023 and 2024, I started getting really into hosting and public speaking. And so I started speaking on stages. I started hosting a lot of like those mini designer events, right? Oh, yeah. Like I started dipping my toes very heavily in public speaking, and I started shifting in that way because I knew that I was a good public speaker and I knew I wanted to really sharpen that skill. And so while I was getting booked by designers for styling, I essentially started really dipping into hosting, dipping into public speaking. Yeah. You know, in 2023 is when I hosted a full fashion show for an hour and a half on the stage and worked the crowd and had, you know, all of that happen. And I just knew that that was something that I wanted to continue to sharpen.
Yeah.
And then fast forward to the book, I'm working corporate during this entire time period. Like through the years, I'm working in corporate 9 to 5. And May of this year, the corporate job that I was working, like, let go of everyone in their marketing department.
Wow.
And beginning of May, and I had already written like around like 1,000 to 2,000 words in this book, but it was nothing serious. But I knew that I wanted to publish by the end of this year in 2025, and my goal was to publish by my birthday. Now I hadn't made progress at that point in time to do that, and my goal was to make this book 100 pages, and so I was like, you know what, like.
1,000 words. How much words was that for 100 pages?
So I make a joke when I talk about this part of my story because I essentially was guesstimating it would be like 5,000-6,000 maybe at most.
Sounds reasonable.
It's reasonable.
So it sounds like a lot of words.
It seems like a lot of words. Well, fun fact: if you guys ever read a book and you want it to be 100 pages. The average is 26,000 words.
26,000, and you had 5,000?
Correct.
Oh my God.
Correct.
Yeah, that is.
So between May and basically end of June, I wrote all of those words. Like I basically wrote 25,000 words. I had the time though because I wasn't working a 9 to 5, and so I had more time to really focus in on the book, publish this book. And I was very passionate about making it a hardcover. Like I wanted to physically be able to have that book in front of me. And so I had this very harsh deadline of like, I want these books by my birthday because I knew that I wanted to have my books available on my birthday for my book launch.
Yeah.
That did not happen.
Yeah.
The story comes, and basically what had happened was I had hit my deadline correctly and I had everything lined up, and the publisher that I worked with, they didn't tell me that there was a next day air option for the books. And long story short, my birthday was on a Sunday and the books were set to arrive on Tuesday, the following. And I had a choice I had to make because I kind of knew like midweek of the week prior that they weren't going to make it. And so I had to make a choice. Do I continue on with the launch on my birthday, or do I reschedule? And the problem with rescheduling was there's so many vendors at that point. I had a live painter, I had a balloon artist, I had a catering, I had a photographer, I had a videographer.
Yeah.
I had all my guests already solidified. I had the venue solidified.
Yeah, too much work to
put
everybody else together again.
I had to pivot. And I talk about this a lot in my book. Pivoting has been the summary of my life. Like I have pivoted so many times, and I think there's an art as an entrepreneur of pivoting and knowing when to pivot. Yeah. And for me, I was like, you know what? I'm not going to cancel this. I'm going to figure this out. And what I essentially did is I created these like big posters. So if you look back on my Instagram and you guys look at my book launch video, no one's holding my book because it wasn't there. It wasn't physically there yet. Yeah. But what I had done is I customized these posters, and I had it where whoever bought one had a huge receipt and I signed it. So that's what I ended up doing. So when you're looking at that video, you're seeing a bunch of people holding up these posters. They're not my book, but they're the book cover. So it looks like my book cover, but my book, but it's not. And that's what I ended up doing. And you know what I mean? I think my book, and I really am excited to share more about my book and for you to ask me these questions, but like my book is a testament not only to entrepreneurship through styling and fashion, but it goes way back further. And that's something that's super cool about this book is like it goes back to like when I was in high school. Like, and I used to be like an athlete. I traveled to Australia and Hawaii for cross country. I went across the nation for track and field. Most people don't know this about me. And so I share that in the book because that's really where like a lot of my routine and consistency and persistence,
dedication and all that. All of that. Sports is huge for that for sure.
And so I talk about that a lot, and I talk about all of these different jobs I had as a in corporate through my 20s. All of these startups I worked for. I don't name drop because legal, but I do, if you there's ways you could probably find out the order. But at the end of the day, like I really attest like trial and error. I think when you're in your early 20s, you think that you're a failure when you don't like a job, or like you quit a job, or you get fired from a job. Guys, that's happened to me multiple times, and I'm a great employee. I'm a great person. Yeah, I mean, like,
all of us.
You're not a failure if something doesn't work out. And there's never been a situation where I've left something and I haven't found better, and that's like really something I talk about in the book. But yeah, I mean, obviously, you can ask me more questions about the book, but
yeah, is there like a certain chapter where it was like, let's say, just the most difficult to write, or a piece of it that you were like, this is really coming from the heart?
Oh yeah. Whoever's read the book knows that chapters 17 and 18 are the heaviest chapters. They talk about my dad passing away, and it's actually really crazy because like the feedback I've gotten from the book, like. And I mean, men cry too, but it's been crazy. Like, grown men are texting me, like, I cried in public reading this chapter. Like,
I would probably, like, one thing about me is, like, not a lot of people know this too, and it's crazy that I'm even saying it, but, like, that's one thing about me is, like, I do get emotional with, like, movies, or, like, when I hear, like, sayings and stuff. So that could probably be me when I get to chapter 17 then.
Yeah. In chapter 17, so to give a little background, I don't want to give too much away, but chapter 17 is really, like, talking about my dad. Like, the chapter is called Dad, which people would assume is the heaviest chapter. It's not. The next chapter is. And the reason why is because the next chapter is called National Thrift Day. And that's actually what's so crazy about my story. If you think about my journey being a thrifter and like starting my whole brand through thrifting and everything, like my dad passed away on National Thrift Day.
No way.
Crazy. Yes.
Wow.
Like, and if that isn't a sign from God, the universe, I don't know what is. You know what I'm saying? And so, like, I was set to go live with Goodwill that day. Obviously, I did not, based off of the circumstances and what happened. But, yeah, I mean, like, I go into detail because, like, I was there when he passed, and I go into extreme detail about it. So that's why it hits home. Like, I don't want to give too much away, but that's why it hits home. And that's why the chapters following that are so important, because one is, like, grief and growing. And it talks about, like, I was grieving so hard during that time. Mind you, my dad passed in August of 2020. My first fashion show, as I mentioned earlier, was September. It was the month after. And I remember like walking that venue, and like I remember talking to the owner of the fashion house, and I was just like, yeah, like my dad passed away like a couple weeks ago. And they were like, pause. What? Like, do you want to do this still? Like, you don't have to do this. Like, you know what I mean? Like, yeah. And for me, like, I don't recommend this, but I think, like, what I ended up doing is just putting all that pain into power. And I think I really didn't hit, like, the grief of it all until the next year. Like, grief will come to you in waves. Like, anyone that's gone through grief knows, like, it's not a straight line. It comes to you in waves. It comes at random times. Yeah. Some days are great. Some days are not, right? And so I, like, a lot of the time in that time frame of my life, like, people are always like, you look so intimidating. Like, if someone were to see me and, like, not know me, like, I put on, like, a fierce face. Like, I was going through grief. Like, my dad died, guys. Like, you guys don't know this, though. I wasn't sharing it, really. I had shared that my dad had passed, but that was, like, it. Like, I wasn't, like, talking about it consistently. And I just think it's important because my dad always wanted me to succeed. And when I was in the Goodwill era, I was on the news quite a bit, and I was like on, Channel 3 and Fox 10, and my parents like recorded all of those. And so my dad used to like watch them on repeat. And I remember he said to me once, because I've been delusional since college years. Like I said before, like in 2015, I knew I wanted to have a Smile Like Colleen brand. That's when I started the @ I had like 200 followers, maybe less. And I was talking to my story like, hi, everyone. And it's like 3 people viewing it. And my dad would be like, do you think you're famous or something? I'm like, I'm going to be, Dad. Like, just wait. Right. And so fast forward years later, I remember, like, my mom used to say, like, he keeps watching, like, your news recordings, like, and he's just, like, I remember the first time I went, and he's like, you know what? You actually did it. I'm like, hell yeah. I told you. Yeah. I always knew, but, like, I told you, and, I mean, I'm not saying I'm famous by any right, but, like, that was a pivotal moment because my dad wanted me to succeed so bad, and that's why I knew I had to keep going, because I could have easily taken some time, but I had done so much work up to that point before, like, to build Style by CQ that whole year.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I could easily like stop now, but like my dad would not want that. And so that's what I talk about like heavily in the book. I feel like anyone that has gone through grief, has lost a parent specifically, definitely, or a parent figure, I think they can highly relate to this, because it is a book about honestly just moving forward and having that strength and like knowing that you have that belief in yourself enough to continue on.
Yeah.
And so I share that part of my story, and I also share it in the book because nobody really knows the specifics of like what happened with my dad. I mean, my dad was sick, and that is something that's known, but the chapters 18
yeah,
is like
you're like, you gotta read it.
Chapter 18 is a whole like make sure you're not in public. But yeah, like I definitely shared a very intimate part of myself. And I feel like as a individual, just in general, I think I've mentioned this to you before, I'm very public but private. And this is something that like again, everyone has their own way about things, but like there's a lot about myself that people know because I've shared a ton on the internet.
Yeah.
And then there's parts of myself that no one knows. It's very private. Like, and so this book is like, if you want to really get in my business, read the book. Okay. Because that is like a side of myself that I'm not going to share on social media. That's the side of myself that I'm not going to go into the weeds with. But it's written, and it's written forever. So that's really important to me, is to have that, that blueprint, and to have the people go back to it and reread it, and like all the feedback in the world, like it matters the most to me reading the book. And the fact that I finally did it and I finally wrote the book is like...
And it's there.
It's there.
That's a huge accomplishment for sure. So, no, congratulations. I can't wait to read it now that I'm seeing it here. So, yeah, I can't wait to read it either. So, I think it's going to be great.
Thank you.
So, what about we kind of skipped over a little bit of the MC and speaking part of it. Like how was it? I know we did a couple videos where like I recorded you talking to some designers and all that stuff. Like that's one thing that I know that you're great at, is like asking these questions and like getting the designers to really really think and like find out more about themselves. I feel like after they talk with you or after they're done interviewing you. Like if you want to give a couple examples, I even know a couple where like you helped the designer really like figure out her inspiration.
Yeah, that was a cool one. Yeah, honestly, like I think that for me, I just really am good at mimicking people's energy. And I talk about this when I public speak at schools. I always say, like, there is a difference between like a good host and a great host. And a good host asks the right questions. They, get into the weeds. They make people feel comfortable. Yeah. A great host is like you're having a chat with a lifelong friend at the end of it. Like, you know what I mean? Like you mimic their energy. And so you watch some of the videos I've done hosting, and you're seeing that like on the screen, there's that comfortability happening with whoever I'm interviewing. And I'm also like mimicking the person's energy. And that also helps in a sense of hosting. Like, for example, if someone is like extremely high energy, like loud, passionate, like I'm mimicking that. And that's like that's like my MO, so that's easy. But then there's people that are like more soft spoken and more chill, and their cadence is a little slower, and I mimic it because think about it. All of us have you ever seen someone where their energy is like, slow and the demeanor is chill, and then the host is like, hey, so did it, and it's just like the vibe is weird.
Yeah, I feel like when that happens too, it makes the other person feel like a little bit more awkward or uneasy, because then they can't bring out that same amount of energy and all that too. So
yes, they go back into their shell. And especially in fashion, there are a lot of designers out there that like they love to sew. They love to create. They're not all about that business and like getting interviewed and stuff like that. Like they are all about the clothes, and they're all about the fashion. So like I can really feel when I know someone's nervous if I'm, interviewing them. Or like something else that I like to do is before I interview somebody, I like to just prep them. Like, hey, like this is what, I'm probably going to ask you. Like, we'll just go with the flow of the convo. Is there anything you want to cover? Is there anything you don't want to cover? Because you never want like someone to feel like taken aback by whatever it is that you're asking. Yeah. and that energy then shifts. But yeah, like one of those examples was so cool when I did like that backseat interview with that designer, and she like didn't know her inspo, and then as we were talking, she was like, oh my god, wait, I know it now, like you made me realize what that was. That's crazy. And so like it's just mimicking energy. I think that's something I'm really good at. I also have this weird way about me where I'm very humorous, and like I make jokes in a way that just makes people feel comfortable. And I'm just like, I'm Italian and Irish. Like that's my heritage. So my whole family is loud, outspoken. I talk with my hands. I've been really trying not to this interview. But yeah, I just by nature, I have that kind of vibe about me, and I just like to make people feel comfortable and have a good time.
Awesome.
So
Awesome. Yeah. Some of those interviews we did were amazing. Like, again, you're super talented at it. So
thank you.
It's always great having you in front of the camera and just like doing your thing, you know?
Yes.
Nice. But so what was one of your favorite shows that you've been a part of? Whether it was like you being a designer or the stylist piece of it, like do you have a favorite show?
Honestly, I love all my shows for different reasons, and I would never say like I have my favorite shows because I have these relationships with these models. I don't want to choose. But no, I mean like obviously it's clear like I loved the Barrett Jackson show for like very selfish reasons. Like the looks were just so cool, and like the models had such a cool time. And then honestly, like all the designer shows I've done have been really, really fun. Like when I've worked with a designer, and just like my main thing is creating an experience for the models. And I think like if you're getting into fashion, that's something I highly recommend is create an experience. In 2021, I had a videographer that I invested in, and I rented out a studio for my models to get hair and makeup ready. And I literally booked the hair and makeup artist because they didn't have any bookings for the show specifically. I started the models off in the studio. Hair and makeup was there. This is like COVID times. Like in the video, people were wearing masks. And I like essentially had them all get ready. I had food and beverage, and then we went from there to the venue, and I filmed the whole thing on camera, all the behind the scenes. It's a really cool video. I don't know if you've seen it. I need to show you because I haven't seen a video like this still. But the reason why I mention that is people, in my opinion, like working with me because I create an experience, and I think that's really important. If you're just throwing clothes on models and you're not really like creating an experience, I think that you create an environment where they'll still work with you again.
Yeah, they probably just won't remember it as being like their favorite or
Like I just feel like I have this relationship with every model I've worked with where I'm like, if I reach out to them, like they're like, oh yeah, I'm down. Like because I've created an experience, and I take care of my models in the way of like I want to make sure they have fun. Fashion is fun at the end of the day. I know it could be stressful, and like you know, and I know that it's not all glitz and glam. It could be very stressful, chaotic. You know, like it definitely can be a lot more than you see on the runway because like it's just that's the nature of fashion, especially runway. And so I think that it's important for models to have a good time, and it's going to show on the runway at the end of the day. Like if they're feeling their looks, if they're having a good time, like it's going to show, and they're going to make your looks look better if you are creating an experience for them. So that's definitely what I would say is my goal is to always create a fun experience, whether it's working with a designer with their line or it's my own collection. Like my goal is to always create a cool experience.
Nice.
Every single time.
Yeah, for sure. Because that's definitely something that makes it memorable too. Is everybody backstage that helps put everything together. You know, before like the models walk on stage or before the people see them. Everything backstage, like that's where I feel like the most memories of models come. Is like what happens there. It's the most
bonding
fun.
Of it all.
Yeah, for sure.
Exactly.
Do you have anything else that's going to be coming up that you're excited to be styling or like a show?
Well, I just finished a show with Drea Dare, with Modern Day Wife. That was an event that just happened. I'm still posting content from that, and so that's been really great. And just posting that content's been really fun. Upcoming end of year, no. This is like I'm done with anything fashion project. I mean, it's December. It's the last couple weeks of the year. But next year, definitely stay on the lookout because I have a lot of things in the works. And on top of that, like, I have a lot of things that I want to do with my book. And, I've been in my author era. So thank you guys for accepting me in this author era. But also just, like, I definitely want to do a pop-up shop again next year. And
Nice.
I have something that's upcoming I can't really speak about yet. But just know I am going to be selling clothing at some point next year, some of my stuff, because people be asking. And I also don't have the room. And so, yeah, I'm definitely doing another pop-up shop. I took a break for a couple years because I've been into my public speaking era, hosting era, author era. Yeah. But no, I'm definitely going to be selling because people be asking. And I do individually sell right now, just so you know. I've definitely had pieces sold for people going to New York Fashion Week, LA Fashion Week, if they want the specific items. People come to me for furs a lot, blazers a lot. I own a lot of fur. I own a lot of, like, winter wear. And so that's why I'm like, I'm definitely going to have some form of pop-up shop, whether it's beginning of next year or it's, like, end of next year, because it's going to have to be, like, during the cold season, most likely. Unless I do this other vision I had, which was a summer vision. We'll see.
Nice. Now, a pop-up would be super cool, but 2026 I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be such a good year. Yeah. Where can people find, you have quite a bit of stuff, like like the clothing to your book. Like, how many links do you have where people can check out your stuff?
So I have 3 technically right now, 3 total links. Smile Like Colleen is where you're going to find everything, right? Like my whole brands, era, etc. You're going to find my historical stuff we've talked about on today's podcast. 2 Worlds, One Hustle is my most recent which is my book. So you can follow me on there for everything related to my book. It is available on Amazon. And then lastly, Style by CQ. That's my with all of my portfolio work through the last 5 years of all the styling I've ever done.
Nice. And that's on Instagram or Instagram and Facebook?
Instagram is historically where I am. Like, I really don't do Facebook that much. But you can find all of my ads on Smile Like Colleen in my bio. Like, so you can actually, like, just go to Smile Like Colleen. You'll find all my other ads there.
Gotcha. Okay.
And then in my bio on Smile Like Colleen, I have a link tree where you can look at all of my, like, news appearances I've done, interviews I've done, magazine interviews I've been a part of, as well as, like, if you want to book me for anything styling related or hosting related, that's also where you can do that. So
nice. Awesome. Well, just a couple more questions kind of before we wrap up. When you are styling someone, like, how do you find their style? Like, is there, like, do you kind of look at what they currently have in their closet, or like, how is it that you're like, I feel like you would look good in this,
Yeah. So, I ask them a series of questions. If I'm pulling from inside their closet, then I like to see, like, what do they enjoy wearing the most, because that's going to give me a good blueprint of, like, how I can style them. And then it depends. Like, if they want to step outside their comfort zone, like I mentioned earlier with, like, black and white versus color, I can make some suggestions, but I like to also know, like, what do they like the most, and then go shopping from there. Most times I've done closet cleanouts where I've literally shopped within a closet before, which I enjoy. I could do that virtually also on FaceTime. But I also really enjoy personal shopping for someone. And that's where, like, thrifting comes into play, and, like, shopping online comes into play. So they're looking for, like, hey, I need a look for this and this. I need to find it by this date. That's where you book me. And that's how, and I'm really good at finding stuff. Not to say last minute, but if need be, I can find stuff.
Gotcha. So are you, like, into the trends? Like, when you look at styling trends and stuff, or do you have, like, your own kind of method for that?
Yeah. So people that know me know this answer. I am not into trends, like, at all. Like, it's so difficult for me because, like, people are like, oh my gosh, that's so Versace inspired. That's so, and I'm like, oh. Like, I literally don't know. Like,
really? You're like, I just came up with it.
I don't have Pinterest. This is all very controversial. I don't have Pinterest. True. I don't, like, find inspo. It just comes to my head.
Okay.
If that makes sense. Yeah. So, like, doing mood boards and stuff. Yeah, like, doing mood boards and stuff like that. I do them when I have a vision in my head, when they're requested by, like, a project or a photo shoot.
Yeah.
But if, like, someone's like, oh my gosh, what was your inspo for this? Like, I don't have photos to show. Like, it was my brain. Like, it's crazy. And that's what's, like, so hard about me is people always are like, wow, that's so vintage, or that's giving 1980s, like, especially when my hair's out, like, big and curly. People are like, oh my gosh, you give 80s, like, so heavy, or you give 90s vibes. Like, when I was first starting with Goodwill, oh my gosh, if the social media manager is watching this, it's gonna be so funny. When I was starting with Goodwill, and I was doing, like, I was known for, like, bold blazers. So, like, my whole thing, like, when I first started was, like, tropical fashion. And so, like, I had, like, all these different color blazers that I would wear. And my hair was out and curly all the time. I had haters.
Really? They were like, that color does not look good on you. Or what kind of haters? How would they?
Clip this video for the beginning of the reel. I had haters. No, but, like, I had haters. Like, I had a whole mom group on Facebook that hated me because, like, because they were like, she's like, it's just 80s, like, she's just copying the 80s. And I'm like, I wasn't trying to copy the 80s, like, I just really like this stuff. And they were just like, it's like, that's not original, like, that's just 80s, like, we lived that. And I'm just like, why is everyone hating so hard on me? But it was just like, I don't know if it was moms, but it was just like this group. It was just like a group of, like, middle-aged women that were just like such haters because they're like, well, that's not fresh, like, that's not new, like, that's 80s. And I'm like, okay, but I wasn't born in the 80s, like, I didn't know, like, I don't pull mood boards, I don't have Pinterest.
Honestly, haters, like, if you think about it, they're the people that, like, are watching all your stuff more than people who, like, probably maybe aren't as interested. The haters are gonna look through everything.
Haters are my biggest fans.
No,
literally. Seriously though.
I remember, like, I don't know if you watch F1, but like, Max Verstappen said this in an interview. He was like, I got to get more haters because all my haters became fans. And I was like, because they watch so much of your stuff because they need to look for something to, like, point fingers at or, like, insult. That, like, they start watching it so much, and then later on they're like, you know what? Like, they just see you so often that they just don't really hate anymore.
That is what I have a testament towards. I feel like when I first started, like, my brand and things like that, like, I feel like people were like, who is this girl? Like, who does she think she is? But it's like, dang, like, she keeps going. She keeps hustling. Like, how many photos is this woman going to do? Like, she's going to keep posting. Like, she's going to keep doing these collections. Like, dang, I can't unsee her. Like, she's everywhere. And I was everywhere. I was everywhere all at once, all the time. That's my goal. That was my goal. I was annoying. I posted every day. And during COVID, I posted 3 times a day, every single day.
Wow. Did you have stuff in storage, like recorded, let's say 10 videos?
No, I was posting a new, like, makeup look every day. Like, scroll down my Instagram, you'll see it. Like, it was crazy.
You were doing, like, get ready with me's before they were a trend?
Yes. Like, that's what I always say. Like, I was doing transition videos before they were trendy. I was doing get ready with me videos, like, just, like, makeup inspired looks before they were really trendy. Like, I was just trying to keep my brain creative during that time because, like, all of us were, like, in the house, you know? And so, like, my goal was just stay relevant and just make sure that I'm challenging myself creatively through this really weird time that all of us were in. But no, I mean, like, I think that's really what it was. Like, people were like, at first they were like, who is this girl? And then at this point it was like, I'm seeing her again. You know what? And then something that I always have noticed about myself is, like, I'm misperceived. Like, I've been told this time and time again, like, I can come off intimidating, like, from afar, especially because of, like, the way I dress and, like, the way I have, like, that fierce look. Sometimes, like, I can come off that way. And then you meet me, I'm like a teddy bear. You know what I mean? But, like, sometimes people don't be thinking that. But I think that's also, like, where the haters came in because it was, like, they didn't know me for me. And then they would meet me in real life and be like, oh, like, you're so cool. Like, you're so down to earth. You're so, and, like, I would give free advice. I would give free nuggets. Like, I have no secrets to hide. And, like, I think that's the main thing with fashion is, like, I don't gatekeep anything because, like, and I think that's, like, a really good thing to keep in mind when you're building a brand is, like, listen, no one can be you. Like, I could give the entire recipe to someone else and the sauce won't taste the same.
Exactly.
And that is no disrespect to anyone else. It's just, like, no one is you. No one has your story. You know how many stylists there are out there? Millions. But nobody creates an experience like I do. And there are people that prefer other stylists over me and vice versa. No offense taken. Like, there is a reason why people gravitate towards you. And no matter what it is, like, you have a certain nature about you that is unique. And that's really important when you're building a brand. And on top of that is owning who you are from the jump is something that I have always done. And it's like, it was kind of a joke in 2020 because I always say, like, you should be your brand. Like, I know Lamarck, shout out to Lamarck, he is the brand. But I always have said that too, is like, you dress for who you want to become.
Yeah.
And I remember dressing like this, like in 2020, like through drive-thrus, running errands, etc. And people would be like, oh my gosh, I love your outfit. I'd be like, thank you, I'm a fashion stylist.
There you go. Yeah.
I was 3 months in. I did not have any right to be saying that, but I owned it. And I think that made a huge, like psychology-wise, that made a huge difference for me because I was constantly repeating that that's who I was.
Yeah.
I was this. It wasn't that I wanted to become this. It wasn't that I was aspiring. I was already it.
Yeah.
And I remember people complimenting my look, and I was just, people always ask, like, how do you connect with people? Like, how do you talk about your business? Be the brand. Like, literally, people compliment my look. I'm a fashion stylist. Oh, that makes sense. Like, can I have your card? It was a very natural transition conversation because I always went with the themes of my collections. And I know it can get exhausting, you guys. Like, as designers and stylists, like, we always joke, like, you see the designer in, like, these big shows, and they're just wearing all black, and their looks are, like, crazy colorful because we're drained. The last thing we want to do is think of our look at the end of the day. But I made it a point to always look good at these shows because I am the person that is behind these looks, and I want to make sure I'm showcasing myself in a way that I'm proud of. Also, just having a lot of Leo zodiac placements, that has helped. But yeah, so I think that's something I would always say is, like, just be delusional with what you want your dream to be, because the people that are delusional are the ones that actually make things happen at the end of the day.
Yeah. That's facts. And the ones that, again, just do it and don't care what others have to say.
Do not care.
Yeah.
Do not care, you guys. Like, I did not have any at all. I don't know if I could say that. I didn't have anything.
No.
In literally 2020, did not care what anyone thought. I actually didn't even look at people that review my story. I did not care. Like, and I still don't. And it's just like, you just cannot care how many supporters you have. You cannot care who is liking your post and who isn't, because at the end of the day, you're still in their face. Like, no matter if they're liking it or not, you are still in their face, and you're still consistent. And eventually you're going to meet these people, because that's exactly what happened to me. You're going to meet these people and be like, dang, you've been putting in the work. Like, I see you doing this and this. I'm sure you've come across this where you see someone in person and they say all these things about you, like, I'm so proud of you for this. You just published a blah-da-da. I'm like, you never liked one of my posts. You feel me? But they have been watching you the whole time. So, like, stuff, engagement, and, like, likes do not matter, because at the end of the day, there are people that will never engage, but they be watching and they be inspired. And that is the tea, is it doesn't matter. Like, do not attest your success on social through that kind of stuff, because when you meet these people in person, you're inspiring them in real life. Like, you are actually inspiring people in real life. Everyone is. Like, whether you think you're not, that person that just saw your content that you thought was average, they want to start that. And now you've just inspired them to start that because you posted. Like, there is a story in everyone. There is a story, an inspirational story in everyone. There's a story that I don't hold that someone else does, that they can inspire someone else. Like, I just truly believe that. So just, you have to run crazy, far and fast ahead in the vision of your dreams. You have to be delusional, and you truly have to not care what people think. And I know there's a different level of caring versus actually not caring. I think in my mid-20s, like late 20s, I was like, I don't care. I did. And then I hit 30, and I was like, I actually don't care. It was just like a shift where I was like, I actually don't care. And like, I started my brands like when I was like officially like 26, 27, and now I'm 32. And I just feel like through the years, you just own who you are time and time again, to the point where, like, oh no, I'm not only showing that I'm this person online, but when you actually meet me in real life, I am this person in real life. Like, I'm everything that I say I am in person. And I think that is the beauty in meeting people in real life, because I have met many people that have said, like, your story has inspired me to do this and this, or, like, I see you putting in that work, and it's just very, very, like, I don't know, it's confirmation. For sure.
It keeps you motivated too, and like knowing that you're doing a good job, all that type of stuff. So
exactly.
Yeah, same. I feel exactly way too. That's
yeah,
great.
don't, you know, obviously numbers can matter to a certain extent on social, but don't take all of that, you know, to heart, and just realize there are a lot of people looking at your stuff more than people engaging. And when you start going to, like, if you're in fashion, you start going to these events and whatnot, like, you'll notice, like, people are gonna start telling you, like, oh no, you inspired me to do XYZ. And just be humble. Like, I know I can come off as cocky, and I'm mostly joking all the time, but I'm also very humble. Like, I will always be forever grateful for people complimenting and talking about my story, but I'm never gonna gatekeep, and I always want my people that I mentor and that are mentees of mine, I want them to do great things. I want them to go on and do better than me. Like, I talk about that in my book, like boss versus a leader, and I go into depth with what that means to me. So that's what I would say. It's just like, if I'm not inspiring others, what is the point? And so that is something that is why I go back to high schools and why I tell my story, and why I'm so passionate about, like, just talking to the youth in general.
Yeah.
So
No, that's amazing. And yeah, I'm so glad that we got to share your story and really talk into depth about it. And I mean, to kind of end off, 2026 is going to be such a great year. Now we're finally going to be doing the reveal. And we just want to be saying that Colleen here is going to be the next host, or the new host for season 3 of Hot Shots.
Yes, that is true. The secret is out, and I am going to walk to the other side. Have the big
going
reveal.
from the guest chair.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back.
Yes, let's go. Thank you guys so much for watching this episode of the Hot Shots podcast. Season 3 is going to be amazing. Me and Colleen have so many big plans for Hot Shots and our own personal brands for 2026. And we're going to be doing it. And it's going to be an awesome adventure coming to you.
I'm so excited. See you guys in 2026.
Thank you guys for watching. Be sure to subscribe and leave a like. And we'll see you guys in the next podcast.
Bye, guys.